Hello, you guys. How are you all? Hello. Thank you guys for being here. I'm so happy to see you guys again. If you guys missed the live this morning, it was on a different case, but it was really intense and yeah, thank you guys. If you were here, if you missed it, you definitely want to check it out. We were kind of just chatting about Gannon and also about that case a little bit. And Jen actually reminded me they don't have a lot of money in that town, so that is an interesting element to it. But anyways, tonight I thought that we could go. So when we did the recap and discussion of what happened in court the day they did the timeline and the Google searches, we did not do anything with the timeline because I knew that I wanted to go over that, like watch it and go over it with a fine-tooth comb. So we just went over the Google searches. So today, me and my two of my favorite girls, and by the way, Melissa, I was going to tell you I know that you're busy this weekend, but if you want to add something, let me know and I'll drop the link. But yeah, so we're going to go watch them putting the timeline out and talk about, I think it's really interesting to look at who was messaging who, what they were saying, all of that stuff. So that is the plan. Hello, you guys. How are you guys?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Hey
Even though
guys.
even though I just asked you, but so the chat knows because they didn't hear us talking just now. It's always awkward, you guys, if you don't know, like when you're backstage talking to someone, then to start the live and just be like, hey, like you haven't been talking to them for 10 minutes. It's so awkward. So
I am ready for this. I'm so ready for this. I mean, you guys know how hard I worked on the pretrial timeline, but now that we've got all the testimony and we can pepper in things like text messages we didn't know about, and just all the stuff. I've got my notebook, I've got my pen, and this is just going to be a study session for me.
awesome. I thought about getting my notebook too, actually, but I might take some notes in my phone because there's going to be things that I swear we could probably listen 3 or 4 times and hear new stuff every time with things like this. That's just the way it is.
Yep, 100%.
Hello, you. I forgot to say hi to you guys in chat, and I'm sorry. Thank you guys for being here. Hey, Amber. Hey, Connie. Dave. Hey, Punksy. K-Braze. Hey, Roxanne. Hey, Ramblin' Rome. Hey, Wolfie. Hey, Dave G. Shapenay. Hey, Debbie. Pepper. Thank you guys for being here. So many awesome people. Hey, Lexi, Texie, Deb, Grammy Nini, Carol, Jane Doe, Music City Mom. Thank you guys for being here. Hey, Sunset Gazing. Hey, Sherry. If I missed anybody, hey, Mrs. O, hello to you as well. Hey, Savvy's aunt. Okay, before we get into that, though, I found something I wanted to show you guys. So this is old. This is from the Babysitter. Do you guys remember anything about those texts that came out and stuff?
Yeah, I remember that's the first time that I saw the likely Nicole thing and went, wait, what? And also, I think one that we thought was to the landlord, but I think it was actually to the babysitter.
Okay, well, let me see, because I remembered a little bit about this, but not clearly until I saw it today. I found an article about it, and then these text messages. So one of the friends of the babysitter posted these messages she had with the babysitter, and she said, "This is all sad. I really think Letitia did something to him." And her friend goes, I do also. And then the girl goes, I don't understand why. When you hung out with her and stuff, did she ever act weird or anything? She says, no, she didn't. Not at all. Maybe an accident. She was trying to hide it. And then the friend says, I have a bad feeling they're going to find a body soon. And then the babysitter says, yes, me also, just not at home. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. There is an article about it. Let me click over to that really quick. I won't read through it all since we got a lot to look at, but I will drop it in the chat. Oh, look here. Gannon's babysitter says she believes stepmother is innocent. However, Stephanie Kane says Letitia had nothing to do with Gannon going missing. It's all mind-blowing. What? I think she's innocent. She's not the type of person that would do anything like this. She never even spanked those kids. She wasn't the one that would get on them. Albert would do that. With the interview, she doesn't doesn't sound like she was hiding anything. That's just the way she is. Talking about the interview with her back to the camera, I would be losing my mind too, but I think she's overwhelmed. I don't, in my personal opinion, I don't think so. Wow. Okay. So I'm going
When
to
was
drop
that
this link.
article?
Yeah, so that article actually came out before the screenshots of the text messages, and that's the babysitter Stephanie Kane, not to be confused with the babysitter who babysat during the anniversary cruise, which was this person that they were calling Angel. It's a different person.
Oh, okay. Oh, here's the article in the chat. It was February 10th, 2020. It's just interesting to see something. Oh, wait, we got a member in a super chat. Thank you, guys. Hold on. I don't want to miss it. Hey, Katrina, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. And let's see. Hoping for answers. Thank you so much. This case is just so tragic. She's just evil. Yes, she truly is. Okay. Now, I already got it pulled up to our spot where we're about to go through the timeline. We're going to do crime talk since we can see, a little better. And I'm just going to let it play for a few minutes. When you're ready to say something, let me know. Or if I think of something, I will. And then we'll just watch and listen. Okay?
Oh, sounds good. Me too.
Okay. Hey, Delaney.
All right, Mr. Clark. First, just as we're going to start digging into these timelines, just orient the jury to how the timelines are constructed, and then we'll actually start zooming in when we look at specifics.
Okay. So all of them are pretty standard and uniform in the way they're designed. They're going to read from left to right in order that the sequences of events happened. So you're going to have the calendar day of the time period we're looking at. On the top, you're going to have your like legend in a map.
Hey, Jordan.
This is just the exhibit number. You don't have to worry about that. This is some of the exhibits and data points that are going to fill the timeline. So that way every little data point doesn't have to have an exhibit number attached to it. And we're just going to go left to right. The defendant, when data comes off of her cell phone, like text messages, what you'll see is the defendant's picture outlined in red and then the words of that text message underneath of them. The same when it's Al's outlined in blue. And when it's a text message from Al, you'll see his picture with the words underneath. Same with Harley, the same with anyone else. The cast report is present in a lot of these timelines to kind of reference movement of people and devices and vehicles and things like that. And we'll just zoom in
my hands on it and physically
go one by one.
Okay. So for this particular, you pointed out the sources of the information line, which is in that top left portion of the screen there.
Yes.
And so we're talking about the download from Mr. Stauch's phone, the download from Harley Hunt's phone, and the download from the defendant's phone?
That's correct.
And then the cast report, that's the report that Special Agent Hoyland created that shows movement of GPS information.
That's correct.
All right. And the date for this particular exhibit is which
thank
date?
you.
Right now we're Sunday, January 26th.
Jordan, I hope you are too.
2020.
Okay. So let's zoom in.
Okay. Sunday the 26th.
Yeah, they started from the beginning.
So what is the first entry on this exhibit?
The first entry is 6:55 a.m. Mr. Stauch, Al, he departed his flight out of DIA, Denver International Airport, to Dallas, Texas, at 6:55 a.m.
During the course of this trial, have you been serving as advisory witness?
I have.
Does that allow you to be in the courtroom while you're hearing testimony from other witnesses?
It does.
Were
I
you
think
here
that's
when
fine.
we were hearing portions of the forensic sanity evaluation that was performed in this case?
I was there for that, yes.
There were some statements made by the defendant in that sanity evaluation about going to church on this Sunday, January 26th. Was there anything to indicate that there had been a trip from the 6627 Mandan Drive to a
Welcome,
church
Debbie.
that morning?
No.
Hey, Tia.
What is the next entry on this exhibit?
So the morning passes, and so the next significant event on Sunday was at 2 p.m. when the hike at the Garden of the Gods took place. And so what you're seeing here is this bracket at the top. All of the subsequent events or data points occurred while this hike at the Garden of the Gods took place. It begins when the Tiguan leaves 6627 Mandan Drive at 2 p.m. to go to the Garden of the Gods.
So prior to 2 p.m., nobody's leaving the house.
No.
Okay. And what happens at 3:15 p.m.?
3:15, Harley clocks in at her work at Massage Envy.
Is that indicated also in that cast report that Special Agent Hoyland created?
That's true. It might be a little difficult to see, but what you see here, you see the tower and sector that covers the residence, and then the phone move up north where it had activity off the towers and sectors that cover Massage Envy.
And that would be Harley's phone.
Correct. And the time of all that corresponds with when she clocked into work.
What is the time of the next event on this timeline?
At 3:36 p.m., Mr. Stauch sent Gannon a text message that reads, "Hey, buddy."
And the
Okay, so at 3, I want to remember the last time that they talked. So there was a text between Gannon and his dad at 3:50 something that afternoon. Just so that we remember that. And then A-Dub, actually, I do not, but Crime Curious on the panel, she has been in the courtroom. She's been writing a book on it. And yeah, so she's been out there for court quite a bit. Hey, Mrs. O. Okay, just didn't know if you guys had anything. I'm just going to press play.
next event?
At 3:41 p.m., this picture was taken from the defendant's phone, picture number 6114. At 3:41 p.m., and it's a selfie of the defendant, Elena, with Gannon's little sister, and Gannon.
When we're talking about getting information from cell phones and this task report, is it helpful to find things like this that sort of corroborate that certain things happened in certain areas?
Yes.
And is that what we're looking at there at that 3:41 p.m., that there was, in fact, a trip made by the defendant and the two young children to Garden of the Gods?
Yes.
The next entry is at 3:53 p.m. to 4:11 p.m. Tell the jury what that is.
This is a conversation between the defendant and Mr. Stauch, Gannon's dad, Al. In summation, it's about why they had to leave the hike at Garden of the Gods because Gannon had an accident in his pants.
Does that basically just continue on discussing the reaction to Gannon having an accident in his pants?
Yes.
The next entry is actually at 4:46 p.m.
Can you
What
pause
does
that
indicate?
there?
That's when the Tiguan and the defendant's Life 360 and
Of course.
But this is kind of always made me curious. And I understand, like, not wanting to talk. I don't know that it's kind of would be embarrassing for Gannon, but I've always wondered if this was the catalyst for everything that happened. This having to leave early and all that. And now I recognize that it doesn't make sense, but let's be honest, does anything Letitia do make sense? And
No.
but they don't talk about it here. They don't talk about this exchange. And I'm kind of curious what was said between Al and Leticia, because I actually think this might be important, but apparently the prosecution doesn't. I'll be quiet and listen because I'm kind of curious why they don't. No, because I mean, I feel like maybe there's a reason why they don't think it's important. Maybe it's not the catalyst. Maybe I'm wrong.
But you know what? What else would be? Because for so long I've thought, no, there's no way that was what started it. Because, you know, even Al said he doesn't even really have accidents anymore. He's kind of grown out of that quite a bit. But you know what? What else?
Yeah.
You know, what else? So I think you have a really good point there. And welcome again, Sheila, if you didn't hear me. Okay. Should I press play some more?
Yes.
Because we're getting into the part where I really want to focus. Help me remember that it was like 3:45-ish, the last time that Al writes Gannon, "Hey, buddy."
Okay. And they don't talk about an answer either, which I think is interesting. Maybe they do later. Maybe Gannon answered him later. And
What
that's
exact time was the message?
"Hey, buddy."
No, what exact time?
3:45.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we go back and check that just to be sure?
Can
Rewind.
we? Yeah.
We
Okay.
can, because I remember it was like I thought it was 3:55, and then the next one after that was like 3:40 something. So here, let me see.
Okay.
Other witnesses?
It does.
Were you here when we were hearing portions of the forensic
The defendant, when data comes off of her, it's a text message from Al. You'll see his picture timelines.
in particular, you pointed out the sources of the information for this download from the defendant's phone
That's right now. We're Sunday, January 26th of 20.
on this exhibit.
The first entry is 6:55 a.m. Mr. Stauch, Al, he departed. I have.
Does that allow you to be in the courtroom while you're hearing testimony from other witnesses?
It does.
Were you here when we were hearing portions of the forensic sanity evaluation that was performed in this case?
I was there for that. Yes.
There were some statements made by the defendant in that sanity evaluation about going to church on this Sunday, January 26th. Was there anything to indicate the next entry on this exhibit?
So the morning passes, and so the next significant event on Sunday was at 2 p.m. when the hike at the Garden of the Gods took place. And so what you're seeing here is this bracket at the top. All of the subsequent events or data points occurred while this hike at the Garden of the Gods took place. It begins when the Tiguan leaves 6627 Mandan Drive at 2 p.m. to go to the Garden of the Gods.
So prior to 2 p.m., nobody's leaving the house.
No.
Okay. And what happens at 3:15 p.m.?
3:15, Harley clocks in at her work at Massage Envy.
Is that indicated also in that CAST report that Special Agent Hoyland created?
That's true. It might be a little difficult to see, but what you see here is you see the tower and the sector that covers the residence, and then the phone move up north where it had activity off the towers and sectors that cover Massage Envy.
And that would be Harley's phone.
Correct. And the time of all that corresponds with when she clocked in work.
What is the time of the next event on this timeline?
At 3:36 p.m., Mr. Stauch sent Gannon a text message that reads, "Hey, buddy."
And the next event?
At 3:41 p.m., this picture was taken from the defendant's phone, picture number 6114.
That was
At
muted.
3:41
I'm
p.m.,
sorry.
it's a selfie of the defendant.
3:36. Did you hear that?
Okay, 3:36. Yep.
Okay.
Lena, with Gannon's little sister, and Gannon.
When we're talking about getting information from cell phones in this CAST report, is it helpful to find things like this that sort of corroborate that certain things happened in certain areas?
Yes.
And is that what we're looking at there at that 3:41 p.m., that there was in fact a trip made by the defendant and the two young children to Garden of the Gods?
Yes.
The next entry is at 3:53 p.m. to 4:11 p.m. Tell the jury what that is.
This is a conversation between the defendant and Mr. Stauch, Gannon's dad, Al. In summation, it's about why they had to leave the hike at Garden of the Gods because he had an accident in his pants.
Does that basically just continue on discussing the reaction to Gannon having an accident in his pants?
Yes.
The next entry is actually at 4:46 p.m. What does that indicate?
That's when the Tiguan and the defendant's Life 360 and tower data all indicate that they all returned home at 4:46 p.m. So 6627 Mandan Drive.
When we say that they all returned home, who is the they that we're referring to there?
The defendant, Gannon, and Lena.
And where is Harley Hunt at this particular time?
She's still at work at Massage Envy.
Next entry that you have on the timeline is from 5:11 p.m. to 5:12 p.m. What is that?
This is a conversation that takes place between Harley and the defendant from 5:11 to 5:12. Harley mentioned it during her testimony that she asked if the defendant could bring her food at work, and that's this conversation.
The next entry is at 9:46 p.m. What is that entry?
This is the video taken from the defendant's phone, video number 6115, and it's the video.
The next entry is at 9:46 p.m. What is that entry?
This is the video taken from the defendant's phone, video number 6115, and it's the video of a candle had spilt.
What was
46.
it? 9:50.
9:46. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. It's just, this is why I wanted to do this, so that we could stop along the way and really like conceptualize and think about and focus, and you know what I mean, every time period, and talk about this. So in between 6 and 9:45. Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, I'm actually typing this like into the website as we're doing it, but with you having it on the faster speed, I missed and I also know that there's a bunch of people watching, so I know that we can't, it's not just about me taking the notes, but I missed the timestamp between 5:11 p.m. when Harley texts Letitia asking for food and 9:46, which we're about to get into, but I missed the one right before it.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna slow it
I'm
down, but
sorry.
let me see. That was it, right? It was just the text. Oh, you missed between or the text before that. That was when they got home at 5:56 p.m. But let me
Okay,
double.
thank you.
Hold on though. I want to make sure I'm accurate on that time.
Yeah.
Just since you're putting it on the website, I don't want to.
No, that's
And the
what I'll do.
defendant
So
is the residents
Oh,
in the phone
sorry.
move up north where it had activity off the towers and sectors that cover Masai.
This timeline.
At 3:36 p.m., picture number 6114,
From the
Sorry.
4:11 p.m. Tell the jury what that is.
the hike at Garlic Gauze.
Reaction to Gannon having an accident in his pants.
Yes.
The next entry is actually at 4:46 p.m. What does that indicate?
4:46, they get home. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the video.
Did you
or
did
no,
you
then
need
the-
what was before that when there was the text exchange about the accident? Is that what you were trying to get to, Jen?
Nope, I've got that already. What I'm missing
Okay.
is right after Harley asks for food. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type it in while we're talking, and then I won't publish it. But as soon as we're done here, then I will kick off the replay crew. And then as I'm listening to this video that we're making right now, I'll be
Okay.
able to check and make sure that all my notes were accurate, and then I'll publish it to the website tonight.
Oh, there
Okay,
you go. That's
awesome.
perfect.
And then, yay, we'll have a place where we can pull it up and see it written out like that will be nice too.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And okay, and I could actually send you this exact video with the timestamp where the timeline starts if that makes it easier without the commentary. So just let me know.
No, this will work. I like us.
I like us too.
We aight.
Okay, good press play.
That's when the Tiguan and the defendant's
Carla.
Life 360 and Tower data all indicate that they all returned home at 4:46 p.m. So 6627 Mandan Drive.
When we say that they all returned home. Next entry that you have on the timeline is from 5:11 p.m. to 5:12 p.m. What is that? 6 p.m. What is that entry?
This is the video taken from the defendant's phone, video number
I think
6115.
they actually play it.
And it's the video of a candle had spilt, and the defendant is telling Gannon about how they're going to have to sell items to pay to fix it, and it ends with Gannon saying, "I'm just worried about my burns," and then the defendant saying, "So tomorrow," and then ending the movie.
During that sanity evaluation,
Or
we
no,
also
that was
heard
in the
some
closing.
statements from the defendant as she's talking to the doctor about Gannon being out in the street yelling. You remember that portion of the video?
I do.
Was there anything indicated in any device, whether it's a neighborhood ring or a doorbell videos or anything like that, that would indicate Gannon was ever out in the street yelling on this Sunday night, January 26th?
No.
No, that was lies.
The next entry you have on the timeline is at 9:54 p.m. What is that?
This is a text message conversation between the defendant and Harley.
Right after the video.
And the
9 minutes.
defendant sends a message saying, "Do panic," but Gannon turned on a candle downstairs and set the downstairs on fire. I had to get the dogs and Lena out and run back downstairs and jump on him with a cover and put it out. I kept jumping on it. He is fine. He is scared and saying sorry and freaking out. Harley responded with, "The fire was on chance."
Who is
I jumped on him with a cover. I wonder why she said that like that. There is a reason.
I'm trying to
Believe
tell
that,
you.
because I know. I think you're right. I really do.
I think she was trying to cover up for something else that she had done. Why would you text Harley at work? Like, think about this, which I know we're supposed to be studying this and stuff, but I mean, let's just take a moment to think about this. What could Harley possibly do from massage envy? Not a damn thing. And clearly you can tell by the response from Harley that she's quite confused about what even happened. So why would you
God,
text
yeah.
Harley?
What was that exact time that was? 9:50 or what was it?
Okay, so the video was 9:41, and I think it's 9 minutes later.
Yep, you're right. I
She
think it was,
texts.
but I remember thinking 9 minutes. Let me look. I bet the transcript has it.
Oh yeah, there you go. Good thinking, Allie.
9:54. And then, yeah, the one before was
9:46.
yep,
And
you're
also,
exactly
her
right.
language here is interesting as well. And I know I'm quibbling, but language is important. And I always pick up on this stuff. Who the fuck turns a candle on? That is a very odd turn of phrase. I've not actually heard anybody say that. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. Actually,
I've never heard anybody say that. I haven't. And her language is really important, I think, because think about this. This is just the beginning where she's trying to cover up for something. There is a reason the candle was poured over blood, over carpet that had already been changed. And you can even see, if you look at the line in the carpet right there in the picture on the thing, like barely. On my computer, I can see the discolor, like the change in colors. So her story was specifically to cover up for what she had done. So I jumped on him with a cover. I don't know. I don't.
And I think the interesting part is this. I want everybody to just remember, as he's going through this, what's her face? Leticia's text exchange with Harley. Keep that in the back of your mind until later, when there's a text exchange about this same exact incident between Al and Leticia.
Yep. I was going to ask that same question. Turn on makes it sound like electric, like a wax warmer. I say lit a candle. You would only turn on the fake battery candles. It's an electric candle if you turn it on. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, press play.
Chance?
It's, their dog, named after Harley's deceased biological father.
The next entry you have on there is 9:56 p.m. What is that?
During this conversation between the defendant and Harley,
Sandy.
the defendant took this picture. You see a candle with some spilt wax on the carpet and the blue blanket that we later saw pulled out of the pink polka dot suitcase in South Carolina. So at 9:54, this text message, 2 minutes after this message started and sent, this picture was taken.
On the defendant's phone?
Correct.
The next entry you have is at 9:57 p.m. What is that?
The defendant's responding over text message with Harley saying, "No, Chance was upstairs. The house is smoky. I didn't call fire department because I put it out right away." And then with that text message, the defendant attached the picture taken of the candle spilt.
What's the rest of that conversation?
Harley's still at work.
Stop that.
So you can
Stop that.
tell
Wait a minute.
We see her line to Harley right there.
Well, the picture of the candle being spilt was taken before she even told Harley about what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there would have been this big ass fire, right? Shouldn't we, or at least and when she's texting Harley, she's saying that it's all smoky, right? It was all smoky.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you see smoke in the picture still?
Yeah, you would think so. That's a good point. And no, Lola, you didn't dream that. There was a sock in it. That is a really good point. We need to pull up that picture.
Am I crazy,
I'll grab
Jennifer?
it.
Is that not what she's, am I thinking wrong? I mean, I know I might be a little crazy, but don't answer that part. Answer the second part.
Actually, I can't answer the second part right this second because I did something stupid on the background of my website and lost the whole section. So I'm actually going to have to jump off here and fix that.
Just hit
But I
Control
will
Z.
rejoin you guys in a second.
Okay.
What? Control
Hit
what?
Control Z.
Nah, not working.
It's not undoing?
No.
Damn. Okay.
No.
Sorry. That's
Okay,
my
so-
go-to when I mess up is Control Z.
That's okay. I'll be back though, you guys. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Look, here's the candle wax photo. Well, hold on. Let's see. There's another one too, because this isn't the one where you can see oh yeah, you can right here. Look at the line in the carpet, the new
Yes.
carpet and then the old carpet.
Correct.
And then you can see it's red. I mean, it's a white candle, but there's like red in it. I mean, come on. God, I can't stand this woman, Jen. Oh, I'm not even on it. I'm sorry. I thought I
No,
was
you're
on it.
fine. Yeah, you are. The thing is that this is what the prosecution, and I think that they did an excellent job of pointing this out or setting this up in the way that they did, because this begins the story. This is why I think that the accident in his pants is important, because I'd like to know what the exchange between Leticia and Al was, because I think that would be very telling.
I do too. You guys, if you don't know, control, someone said is undo. Oh yeah, that's what she said. JD Control Z. If you don't know about the carpet, they found 2 pieces of carpet, and one was with this wax on it, and then one was bloody in the storage room. So what had to have happened was there had to have been an accident. She laid a new piece of carpet down and then spilled wax, and then moved that carpet too and put another new piece down. That's the only thing that makes sense. That's one thing we've been trying to figure out.
Yeah. Well, because, okay, there's actually 3 pieces of
You're
carpet.
right. I thought of that when I said it. I thought so. Yeah. But where's the third one? Because I remember hearing there was 3.
There were 2 in the storage room. One was was like a roll, was bigger, right, and rolled up. And then there was another piece with blood on top of it. And then the third piece is the square with the wax on it that she cut out.
Okay.
Remember? Well, obviously, if you're asking me, you don't remember. Oh my God, Jen, come on.
No, but I do remember, like you pointing that out, that there was 3, or like us talking about that there was 3. I just don't, remember.
It's been a long time. I mean, it's been a lot. Yeah, there was 2 pieces in the and there was 2 pieces in the storage room. One was bigger than the other, and the bigger one was sort of rolled up.
Right. I seen the one rolled up. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the one in the trash with the or the dumpster or whatever. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna press play again.
Okay.
Distracted because she's not understanding. She's saying the fire was on chance. And the defendant said, I jumped on him with a cover. And so it was just a lot of kind of back and forth between the defendant and Harley clarifying what had happened and that the dogs were fine.
So the next entry that you have is at 9:58 p.m. to 9:59 p.m. Is that basically from 9:58 p.m. all the way to 10:15 p.m.? Is that just a continuation of that conversation between the defendant's phone and Harley's phone?
Yes.
Was there anything of significance mentioned in this conversation other than the discussion about the fire and the circumstances associated with it?
Other than the defendant portraying herself as a hero of putting the fire out and saving Gannon, no.
Other than the defendant portraying herself as a hero, putting the fire out
Mr.
and saving
Clark.
Gannon.
You're definitely, you'd like to throw shade, and I'm here for it, sir.
Me too.
I am here for it.
There was also some information shared by the defendant about jumping into the car and leaving the residence during this fire incident. Was there anything on video that corroborated that occurred?
No.
No,
Was
that
there any
was
indication
also
that they
big
ever
fat
left on
lies.
Sunday night, January 26th? They being the defendant, Lena, Gannon, and I guess Harley's still at work, but
Harley's still at work, yeah. Or the dogs, as indicated in the messages, no.
Okay.
No.
The next entry you have is at 10:18 p.m. What is that entry?
This is when Harley clocked out of Sergeant D.
10:18.
Next entry is 10:24 p.m. What is that?
Just more continuation of clarifying what had happened with this candle event between the defendant and Harley.
Does she also send another picture indicating the fire?
She shows a picture of the couch that has some wax on it. You can see the droplets of wax on it, and she sends that picture to Harley.
Such an idiot.
Did you see
the same couch that she tells Gannon that they're going to have to sell? Right? Yes. Or is there another couch somewhere else?
Yeah, the same one. I guess the same one, but oh my God.
And the couch cushion? Did you physically see those items?
And we're going to talk
Yes.
about the comment.
Did it appear that there was any
Like,
burns
pause
on
you
that
guys.
couch, or
Yes.
was it just dripped wax?
We will.
It looked like just dripped wax to me.
Ooh.
The next entry, and it looks like the last entry that you have on the timeline for Sunday night or Sunday, January 26th, is at 11:30 p.m. What is that?
So it takes Harley approximately 20 minutes to get home. Harley's now home when this message from the defendant goes to Mr. Stauch. It's 11:30 p.m.
11:30.
Sunday night, and it reads, Gannon was on the toilet most of the night upstairs and downstairs. He had a candle on earlier tonight because he said he known from his accident. That's what he told for his headphones and dropped it, catching the covered couch, small spot. I got what's outside for fire alarm. But once I got down there to get him, I had to throw another cover on it. It was minimal. No need to call for help or anything because nothing too bad. He is upset and wrote on the notebook he was sorry. He didn't want me to tell you because he was scared and freaking out about getting in trouble and being grounded. It's stuff we can fix and everyone is okay. I burnt my arm a little, but it's all good. He was more scared and embarrassed.
Wait a minute. So she does whatever kind of torture she's doing to this kid, and then has him write "I'm sorry" on a notebook.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure if they ever even collected that. If we have verification that he actually wrote "I'm sorry" anywhere, but you see how with Harley, there's a huge dichotomy, right, between Harley's texts, the text she sends to Harley, and the text that she sends to Al. The text that she sends to Al, she minimizes everything. But the text she sends to Harley are, she doesn't mention anything about having to, get everybody out of the house and, and Gannon making that, yelling and whatnot. None of that happens in these texts. None of that. It's all very minimized. It's all no big deal.
Yep. Yeah. No reason to call for help. It's,
Yeah. No. Don't get anybody involved. Don't send anybody to the house. Everything's fine. Nothing about having to put another blanket on Gannon, which it's unclear now that I think about it. I have to think about that. I'm not going to say anything because it's kind of unclear. Did she actually say she put blankets on him or on it? But she sort of implies that Gannon was on fire. That's what I thought.
On the first one. Yep.
Okay.
This one, no, but on the first one, yeah. So, okay, you guys, Music City Mom and a couple people were talking in the chat about what she may have used to cause the blunt force trauma. Now, I know there was a theory by a lot of the internet for a long time that this lampstand was used, and they were photographed removing it from the house. And that came from Teresa, who I haven't seen for a bit, but from Criminality, that channel. She said that they were seen coming out of the house with that. So, I don't necessarily think that that's what it was, because I think if they took it out, they probably tested it or something, but we didn't hear anything about it. Right. And there's a lot of theories. Someone asked, was it the candle? And I thought that for a long time, but these two Jen and Jen, have a pretty good theory too.
I think that she used this softball bat because she mentions that she was going to get rid of some softball equipment. And I think that was her cover story because she did get rid of some softball equipment, but not for the reason, she acts like she was going to sell it, but she needs to explain why it would be missing.
Oh, wow. Okay. See, I guess that never sunk in that she actually did get rid of some. I knew that that's what you guys thought, the bats and everything, but that makes me think even more. It was probably something like that. She got rid of it. Softball bat, butt of the gun. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it was the butt of the gun. And here's why. I've thought about this. Because the gun was still there at the house. Right. So they would take it. You know what I mean? And I suppose she could clean it. I don't know. Whatever it was, I think it was a bat only because of what happened, the damage that it caused to Gannon's skull. You know, your skull is a very tough bone in your
Yeah.
body. It's not, you know, I mean, it's to protect your brain, which does the controlling of everything, right? So
Right.
you have to, you know, you have to put an effort in.
Nay's still a mod. Nay's just mod. I got half of them on the other channel, which I can't wait to get back to because the trial's slowing down, and which is not true crime, but yeah, I just split them, so I didn't have like 100 on this channel, and I don't know. I just thought it'd be easier, but okay, all right. Let me go back to this, and we'll listen again for a second. So she sends this long message to Al about what happened,
but no big deal.
That was yeah, just minimal.
It's just
But,
minimal, but it also is the event that triggered her to get into her dissociative psychotic state.
Good point.
But it was no
That's a good
biggie.
point.
No
Yeah.
biggie.
Prosecution said it pointed that out.
And then Mr. Stauch did not respond at this time.
Is that the last entry on this
I
particular
don't know.
exhibit?
Gannon.
It is.
We're going to move on to People's Exhibit 696, page 1 of 3.
This time.
So I want to go first, and we'll do this with each one of these exhibits. What are the sources of information for this exhibit?
So the main sources of information are Mr. Stauch's phone download, the defendant's phone download, and Harley's phone download. When there's conversation between the defendant and Mr. Stauch, it's under exhibit number 32. That's what the text bubble indicates. When there's conversation between the defendant and Harley, are represented in exhibit number 26. So Monday's broken up into 3 sections, and this is the first section. And we're looking from midnight until noon. So we're looking at a 12-hour window, the first half of Monday, the 27th.
The first entry that you have on this exhibit is at 2:48 a.m. Can you tell the jury what that is?
It's 2:48 in the morning. And the defendant sends Mr. Stauch a text message that says, he is in the bathroom again and blood coming out butthole, and he is crying about going to school tomorrow. Like this, and he is still upset about the candle accident. I told him it's fine, and that as long as he was okay, not to worry about something minor we can fix, and to let's worry about his stomach hurting.
2:48 a.m. She's up texting Al and talking about Gannon's little bottom bleeding. That really
By the
gets
way,
me.
It's also Al would be in Oklahoma at this time, which would be an hour ahead. So this would be 3:30 in the morning for Al, that she's blown up his phone.
Oh my God. Thank you, Sandy, Colorado. Sandy says, I feel like she didn't mean to leave the smaller bloody piece of carpet inside the bigger piece. I think she forgot about it or never had the chance to dispose of it. I think I don't understand. She would have had to forget about it, because why didn't she take it out of there? I don't know. That's interesting though. And welcome, Ruby. Thank you for joining. Oh my God, 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, you're sitting there talking about Gannon. I don't know. I don't know. Okay.
Also, I wanted
indication
to bring up
that
another
Mr.
point
Stauch
that I
had seen
just
that
thought
text
of.
message at
Sorry.
that particular time?
That's
No.
okay. Don't be sorry.
So I find it very, what is going on in that household that Gannon is so worried about getting in trouble all the time? Like, if you just if not knowing anything that we know, okay, we don't know how the story ends. Just taking these text messages as they were written with the known information in the moment, not anything going forward, okay? He's crying. He wrote he was sorry on the notebook. He is worried about getting grounded. He's still upset, even though Leticia claims that she has reassured him that he's not in trouble. It was an accident and everything can be fixed. But he's still upset about it. Hours and hours and hours later. What is going on in that house, Leticia?
Yeah, what's he scared of? What's he scared of? You know, that's a great point. Why is he? I mean, I'm telling you, my kids, shoot, they do stuff and they just half the time think that they ain't gonna get in trouble at all. You know what I mean? Like they can just, no. Your kid is scared of you like that. My kids are not scared of me at all. Now, when I raise my voice and I get serious, do they listen a little better if I'm like stern sometimes? Yes. But that's because they know I'm serious, but they are not. I mean, I cannot imagine. I would not want them to be scared of me. That would break my heart. I just.
No, they should. Your kids should not fear you. They should respect you. There's a difference.
Yes. Yes.
So you're doing the right thing. And I'm thinking back to my kids, and I'll tell you, at one time or another, one of them has written on some variation of furniture or a wall. All four of them have done it at one point or another. Okay. And that's not an accident. That's on purpose. Okay.
Yeah.
And all I ever did was bust out the magic eraser and be like, get it off, clean it up. That's it. There wasn't this whole, do you know what I mean? Exactly. I mean, they were old enough to do it. We're not talking about a 2-year-old here. We're talking about like 4, 5, 6 years old, with the magic eraser.
Yeah,
and
like
or
Bentley's age.
one of them wrote on their dresser, their name in Sharpie. Thankfully, it wasn't like real wood. It was just, and so it had that like shiny stuff over it. Yeah. And a magic eraser got it off.
Thank you, Corey. Well, I need to go get one because Bentley just drew on my table. I left my notebook from the trial on the kitchen table with a pen, and he sat down to eat later and decided to draw on my table. So
yeah, get a magic eraser. But I'm telling you guys right now, those kids, every time they did that, and they only each did it one time. They only ever did it one time. But they were not up at 2:00 in the morning upset about it. You know where their asses were at 2:00 in the morning, snug as a bug in a rug, asleep. Yeah, they weren't worried about that. They weren't worried about it.
That's a really good point. And
then tried to deny it. One of them wrote their name and said they didn't do it. I'm going to let you guess who that one was. That was the second. That was my youngest son. Yep.
I knew it.
Heathen. That one came out completely different. But yeah.
Riddler, you're so sweet. He says, I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather be than with Alex and her friends on a Saturday night.
Thank you, Riddler. So yeah, there's something else.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
But with the babysitter saying Al did the disciplining, and even, well, I don't know. I don't believe that, because on the stand, Harley said, no. Al wouldn't have been the one upset over broken electronics. My mom would have been, or over broken stuff, or not electronics, over broken stuff. My mom was the one who would get like that.
Well, I'll tell you how it went in my house. And there's probably a little bit of kernel of truth to this, because my dad was military as well. My mom would be the one that would get upset. Okay. She would be mad. But let me tell you what she did. She would go bitch to my dad about it, which mainly that was what was annoying to my dad. So my dad would come and punish my sister and I, or whichever one, because he really wanted my mom off of his back. I have a sneaking suspicion that might have been the dynamic in that house as well.
Yeah, I do too. I definitely do. I think her emotions controlled everything. Susie says, there's the membership link. Someone was asking. The Nightbot drops it every few minutes. Susie says, Letitia mentioned not being able to punish each other's kids. There was probably a reason for that. That's interesting. I think so too. Okay.
The next entry is at 4:36 a.m. What is that?
This is a message from the defendant to Ms. Hicks, the assistant principal. And the defendant sent a message saying, I'm sorry for the time of night message, but my stepfather saying, what is that? Like hurting.
Any indication that Mr. Stauch had seen that text message at that particular time?
No.
Okay. The next entry is at 4:36 a.m. What is that?
This is a message from the defendant to Ms. Hicks, the assistant principal. And the defendant sent a message saying, I'm sorry for the time of night message, but my stepfather passed away. Someone hit him with a car while he was walking. I can update you at a later time, and included the crying face emoji.
Yeah, that's
We had
professional,
testimony
Letitia.
from Dakota Lowry, the defendant's brother. Did the defendant's stepfather pass away on this January 27th date?
No.
When did he actually pass away? Do you remember?
Was it years before this? It was September 21st of 2006, I believe.
Thought it was 4.
The next entry is from 4:36 a.m. to 5:02 a.m. What is that?
This is a series of text messages back and forth between the defendant and Mr. Stauch. So 4:36 a.m., the defendant sends a message saying, "I'm just going to give them an excuse at work and stay with him. I don't think you should be here alone. We haven't really slept, and we haven't heard from you by call since you left Saturday night."
And did Al Stauch respond to that?
He did. He responded, "OMG, is he okay? I texted him too."
Oh my God.
And go ahead and just indicate who is sending which text and read the rest of that string.
So then the defendant replies, "He just laid down again. I just left from down there with him." Mr. Stauch says, "Okay." The defendant says, "I love you and miss you." And Mr. Stauch says, "I too."
Then jumping now to 5 a.m. Then on this timeline, what are we looking at here?
Just a continuation.
Hang on
the
just a
previous
second.
conversation sends a message to Mr. Stauch
Hang on,
saying,
hold on.
"He was so pitiful and freaking out."
I just wanted to throw in there before I forget. See, this is where I hope that they release that discovery evidence, because, you know, I want to compare if ADT is logging activity in the house. I think we would be able to tell if she in fact ever went back down there and checked on him, or if
Yes.
when she went down there with Harley to say goodnight, you know, if that was the last time anybody even went down there and checked on him. I mean, remember, it was really cold. I mean, did she go back down there? I don't know. I hope that the discovery evidence comes out so that we can look at all the information we have and continue to pick off the lies, and eventually get to something that somehow resembles the truth.
That's all I want. I just want to know what happened. So I so hope you're right. Like, because that would give us a little bit of an idea of who, or not who, but how many times, you know, someone had went downstairs to check on him. We know Harley and Lena slept upstairs that night, you know, so.
Right. And every little detail matters, you know, like my original pretrial timeline, I said that, you know, they went hiking at Garden of the Gods and then they went to Burger King. I took the Burger King back off. There's no proof that they went to Burger King. Now I've heard that they probably went somewhere else. And so I've had to, you know, redact things that I just kind of took for truth. And I was even being picky, and I still missed some things like, oh, wait a minute, that hasn't been proven.
Right. But that's good. I appreciate that. I know it takes a lot. It's a lot of work, but, you know, I think that that's important. But, and also I want us to remember while we listen to this, Harley said during this time, you know, during this night, that her mom was acting weird. She was worried about Gannon, that things were just off, that she was scared. So remember that, because that goes for like the vibe in the house and the way that things were. And I'm sorry, but after a night like that, I know that her mind had to wonder when Gannon went missing, you know?
Yeah, to me, that still in my mind leads back to premeditation. I feel like she made the decision on Sunday.
I do too.
And I'm sure that she was probably acting different after she had made the decision, and Harley felt that.
I think she did on Sunday too.
I agree.
But when? How early?
Probably around 2:30, when she's starting to text Al to let Al know that she's just going to make up some excuse and call into work.
I think she made the decision on Sunday, like right about the time that she made the candle video, or, you know, whenever the fire happened.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like everything that happened after that was to cover up whatever happened on Sunday. But I feel like the decision was made on Sunday. And then everything after that, you know, I don't think that the selfie at Garden of the Gods was part of the premeditation. I think that was just to show, look at what a good mom I am. Look at what I'm doing for your kids. And then so I think it was somewhere after that the actual premeditation begins.
Okay, I was wondering, like, if you thought, like, when they were hiking or after the hike, or that's why I say what time, because I definitely think by the time she did that video that she was, I don't know if I think that she knew for sure at that moment, but I know she was covering up whatever she did. And I think that I leaned towards her knowing that what she was going to do, because even like the proof of life photo the next morning, that is what that was, period. Just
Right.
like
And with one of those calls, she slipped up and told Al that he had a busted nose and a busted lip. And I feel like when she busted his nose and busted his lip, that could have caused her to start the fire. That could, I mean, we don't know. We just don't
that's
know
why
yet.
she could say she jumped on him with a blanket and like
Right.
Jen was saying, like the fight. So
Right.
I busted his nose and lip, but didn't mean to, or something,
Right. Because I was saving his life when I did it.
Yeah. Oh my God. The fact that T plants Swisher Sweets in Gannon's backpack for Harley to find pisses me off. Me too, just on Riddler. Those birds were, I think, Crime Curiouses.
Yeah, those are my birds. I'm outside.
I love it. And people always love the birds chirping here, but that wasn't here this time. Okay. I'm wondering about days before if she had planned it. Me too, Shannon, because of the Google searches.
I mean, the prosecution definitely thinks that her plan was to leave Al, and not just leave him like bon voyage, but leave him in shambles. I am not 100% sold on that theory, to be quite honest. I mean, obviously they have shit that we don't have, and so I don't know where I feel about that.
That was
I
another
don't
major
know.
concern I had about the closing arguments, was because the way that it was presented is that Letitia burned him. Not he turned over a candle. I mean, they went as far as saying Gannon didn't play with fire. Gannon would not have gone down and, lit a candle in order to cover up the smell. Letitia burned him. But that's what I was worried about, that because, they didn't prove that with the evidence. And so I wondered if that threw the jury off as much as it threw me off. Now, I believe it, but I'm just saying it wasn't proven in the courtroom.
No, it wasn't. You're right. It's this, everything around that candle is very, if it's crazy for us, and we've been looking at this case for years, a lot of us, imagine how the jury who just is hearing everything, they're probably like so confused about the candle.
Yes, and that is why this is the longest weekend ever.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Oh, God. Okay.
We're looking at here.
Just a continuation of the previous conversation. The defendant sends a message to Mr. Stauch saying, "I'm exhausted." He was so pitiful and freaking out about fixing the carpet, but told him to worry about his stomach. "I can't sleep because I have coughed nonstop from that smoke." And then attached the same candle picture from the night before that she sent Harley while Harley was at work. And Mr. Stauch didn't respond at this time.
The next entry is at 5:49 a.m. What is that entry?
This is a text message from Ms. Leslie Hicks, the assistant principal. And it reads, "Oh my goodness, Tisha, I'm so sorry. Shall we try to find a sub for you today?" And then the defendant responds approximately 2 hours later at 7:21 a.m. saying, question mark, "It's a parent. All my family lives on the East Coast. I'm trying to find a way to get there."
The next entry is at 7:32 a.m.
Somebody put in the chat something about the conjuring neck, but it reminded me of something. It's not about the timeline, but I just have to say, when they're talking about the neck, they said that someone did that in a movie as well. Remember, like the prosecution, he's like, didn't they do that same neck movement? But the weird thing is she was doing that all the way to the very day she was arrested in the car before she hit with the monster can. She did her neck like that.
Every time I see it, all I can think about is the farmer guy from Men in Black.
Oh my
in the
God, when he
overalls.
was the cockroach.
Yes, the husband.
I love Men in Black so much. Ooh, those bugs, though, they creep me the hell out. The bug alien bugs. Aw. That's so awesome, Delana. That's so sweet. Yeah, it is.
Oh my God, I just realized that. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that character's name was Edgar.
Wow.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
I'm Googling that right now. Please hold.
Yeah, because I'm telling you what, for real, it may sound silly, but she grabbed all kinds of shit from movies, TV shows. You can tell. It's clear. I'm going to play while you Google. Let us know, though.
What is that entry?
So the last message was sent at 7:21. So approximately 11 minutes later, Ms. Leslie Hicks replies back to the defense saying, "Okay, I am just trying to understand your plans so that we can find coverage. Am I understanding that you will not be in today?" The defendant replies with, yes, it's my
Clear.
parents. I can't believe that you would not be an assumption in a time like this.
It's
And then
not an assumption, Letitia. She needs you to be clear and say, I'm not coming. I need a substitute. You idiot.
Ms. Hicks responds with, I'm so sorry for your loss and we will support you, but I cannot make assumptions. I do need some direction from you. We will get a sub today. Please let us know what else you need moving forward.
Also,
The next entry
this is
is at
5:30
8:09
in the
a.m.
morning,
through 8:10 a.m. What is
Letitia.
that?
Yeah.
This is how you wake a person up. You're a bitch.
You are.
This is a 1 minute back and forth between the defendant and Mr. Stauch over text message. The defendant says, I keep calling you back. And then Mr. Stauch says, in class now, I'll call on break. The defendant says, okay, it's where he burnt the floor. Then Mr. Stauch replies with burnt, question mark. And the defendant says, he said he was playing his games and wasn't supposed to and thought someone was coming. Mr. Stauch says, what? The defendant says, yes, and I sent it to you last night and you said, OMG, I explained everything. And Mr. Stauch says, I was so out of it from not sleeping.
Oh my God. So Al literally doesn't even remember that anything like at this time. Wow. And he's in class.
Next entry is from 8:10 a.m. to 8:16 a.m. Tell the jury what that entry is.
It's the same lengthy text that was sent at 11:30 p.m. the night before about Gannon was on the toilet most of the night. The defendant got the laying in the dogs outside when she heard the fire alarm. So it was just copy paste, resend text message.
And then did Al respond to that particular?
Yep, he said okay. And then the defendant said he told me this morning he was playing his game and didn't want to get caught. I had to fix the carpet. He said he accidentally knocked it over and couldn't put it out. When I got there, I threw the covers on it and jumped on it. And then Mr. Stauch replies with OMG. And the defendant says, that's the sofa. Carpet I had to cut and add a piece. He was freaking out and crying and saying he was going to be grounded for a year, cut off some with scissors too, and you can't tell. And sent a picture of that sofa picture that we talked about earlier. Mr. Stauch didn't respond at this point.
Oh my God.
The next entry you have is 8:14 a.m. What is that?
During this back and forth between the defendant and Al, the defendant takes a picture of Gannon laying in bed, where you see the bedding that he would later be found in Pensacola, Florida. His Nintendo Switch is placed right here by his hand. So this picture was taken at 8:14 a.m. And 4 minutes later, the defendant sends a second picture, so from a different angle and kind of more zoomed in.
The second one is the one that we've seen so many times, like from the bottom. The first one, if I go back, just look in the first one, you can see it's from like the corner, like the door. You see the corner of the room right there in it, and then his bed and the wall, that back wall. You can even see the wall. If you're on a phone, though, it's going to be so tiny. But yeah, that's a different picture. And it's from a slightly different angle. And I don't know, I cannot get it. I don't know where to find it. But I know I've seen it before. It's there somewhere, but it's very hard to find. Oh, shoot. No, I did not.
I had somebody send me a message today. I think it was early this morning. Anyway, it was about the Black Widow character that was written by Stan Lee. And her name is Natasha Romanova. And it says, Romanova has a gifted intellect. She always displays an uncanny affinity for psychological manipulation and can mask her real emotions perfectly.
Yeah,
she's a world-class athlete, gymnast, acrobat, capable of numerous complex maneuvers and feats. And then it talks about how she knows Kung Fu and Kenpo, as well as the Russian martial art Sambo. She also underwent training on how to masterfully use sidearms, marksman rifles, and melee weapons, such as batons and combat knives. And I was thinking, oh my God, okay, so is
gymnast, yeah. It's lines up.
Well, the gymnast is Christina.
Right. And,
but, you know.
Oh my God. With all the personalities, yeah. It sounds like something.
She's the Black Widow character. And she's black and red. You know, and she's with the Red Guardian.
She shows a picture.
Sorry, I was trying to find our spot back while we were talking. Let me see. I think I'm pretty close to it. Let's see.
Yeah. At Mountain Ridge Middle School. And the text messages between her and the defendant are represented in exhibit number 207. And we still have the cast report.
Entry that you have on this exhibit is at 2:48 a.m. Can you tell the jury from 4:36 a.m. to 5?
I didn't respond at this time. Now I'll call on break. Put it out. When I got there, I threw the covers on it and jumped on it. And then Mr. Stauch replies with OMG. And the defendant says, "That's the sofa. Carpet I had to cut and add her." Mr. Stauch didn't respond at this point.
The next entry you have is 8:14 a.m. What is that?
During this back and forth between the defendant and Al, the defendant takes a picture of Gannon laying in bed, where you see the bedding
someone
that he
said
would later
yes,
be
the
found
Black
in,
Widow. I always thought
Pensacola,
she
Florida.
took it from her
His Nintendo
character.
Switch is placed
Wow.
right here by his hand. So this picture was taken at 8:14 a.m. And then 4 minutes later, the defendant sends a second picture. So from
Do you know when that movie came out? It was like the first one was years ago, years and years ago, right? Like 10 years ago or something.
The Avengers, the first Avengers with Black Widow was 2000. Oh, let me look it up. But Edgar is the name of the bug guy.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's
You were
Vincent
right.
D'Onofrio. I forgot about that.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hold on.
but
Let
it's
me look up
definitely
the
she was
Avengers
able to.
real quick.
Well, you know that it was out in
I
time
think
for
it's
her to see it and
2012.
know all about it. That sounds about right.
I think that's right.
a
Yeah,
different angle and kind of
2012.
more zoomed in.
Okay.
To Mr. Stauch saying, "He is sleeping now. He said his stomach was really bad, plus he was upset about what he
Hey,
did.
Stephanie.
I told him you weren't going to ground him for a
Junior
year,
prom.
and that's replaceable."
Bendy's daughter had prom too.
Did Mr. Stauch respond to those text
Yeah,
messages?
senior
not at the
promise. Bendy,
The next entry
mini
that you have is
Bendy.
8:30 a.m. What is that?
Harley clocks in at work at Massage Envy.
So prior to 8:30 a.m., who was home at, by all indications, at 6627 Minden Drive, the Stauch residence?
So it was the defendant, Harley, Gannon, and Lena. And then Lena left to go to school, and then Harley left to go to work.
So after 8:30 a.m., who is remaining at the 6627 Minden Drive, the Stauch residence?
Just the defendant and Gannon.
My God.
Next, we have 8:43 a.m. to 8:50 a.m. What is that?
It's a conversation back and forth between Mr. Stauch and the defendant. And this is when the idea of an unknown friend with an older brother who drives, Gannon wants to go hang out with them later that day, if he can bring some bath salts.
8:43 a.m. She's bringing in the story of somewhere Gannon wants to go, even though he's sick and can't even go to damn school. And the bath salts as well, which has always made me so angry, you guys, because she's slandering that baby, and that pisses me off. It really does. He wouldn't do that shit. He was innocent. He was 11. He was still, it's just.
She'll say horrible
Falls with
things about anybody, but especially people who can't defend themselves.
Correct.
God, that's
Correct.
sick. That is sick. Look at her
Correct.
attorneys watching everything, and look at her looking down.
Oh, she doesn't care about this part.
Who introduced this random friend with an older brother that can drive?
All investigative leads point to it was the defendant.
Was there ever any indication that Gannon had specifically sent any text messages to anybody like Mr. Stauch or anybody else asking to hang out with an older friend that had a car?
Those messages were sent minutes after that last picture of Gannon sleeping in bed from Gannon's phone to Mr. Stauch, describing how he met a new friend who has an older brother with a car and that they can hang out after school if he brings bath salts.
Minutes after.
What is the significance of bath salts? I think a lot of people probably know about Epsom salts that you might put into a bath. Is there another connotation to bath salts?
So this is early 2020. And during that time period, it started calling it the zombie drug, to where people were using bath salts to get high.
Were schools passing that information out to students at schools to be aware of this kind of stuff that's now popping up on the streets?
Yep, the schools did an information awareness campaign. There was stories on the news at night about bath salts in different states. So it was more prevalent than it is now.
The first mention of bath salts, is that first mentioned by the defendant in these text messages at this time?
No, it was first mentioned from Gannon's phone minutes after the picture was taken of Gannon in bed.
That the defendant sent to Al showing him asleep in bed?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any specifics during this particular exchange back and forth between the defendant's phone and Al's phone, Mr. Stauch's phone, that would be important for you to read to the jury? Or is this just basically discussing the bath salts?
It's just a summation about TikTok challenges and bath salts and things like that. And Al was completely against it, informing the defendant that bath salts can be used for other purposes other than, in the bath. The defendant was unaware through her messages back to Al of the this usage. And so it's just a summation of back and forth about, he's not spending the night with people we don't know, and absolutely not to bath salts, things like that.
At 9:21 a.m. to 9:24 a.m., is there some discussion about TikTok, although it says Talk?
Correct. Yep. The defendant drafted a message that says he was watching Talk, hiding it before you left, and I saw him looking at something where people throw quarters in the air and catch them. I told him about my brother Dakota, that he did that years ago and got lodged and no air, and my mom rushed him to the hospital. I was wondering why he was saying strange things out of character. So I blocked the switch for the Wi-Fi and Amazon because he was asking Alexa about it. That's why we went hiking, because I told them no technology all day. Then Mr. Stauch responds with, okay, yeah, we were going to have to keep a close eye because Lena was watching it and started crying the other day.
Most people probably know who Alexa is, but just so that we're clear, is this another person that's being introduced by the defendant, or what is that?
No, it's a home device that you can interact with, where you can shop with it or play music with it, or it'll tell you the weather, things like that. It's like a home digital personal assistant.
Alexa's the only person.
The next entry is at
in this house who
9:27
listens to me.
a.m. Tell everybody what that is.
The conversation between the defendant and Harley, who's at work, and the defendant screenshotting the conversation between
at
her and
least
Mr.
there's
Stauch
one.
about the bath salts. And she sends those screenshots of the
Too
conversation
bad
to
Alexa's
Harley,
a snitch.
saying, OMG, isn't right.
Right. Well, and
Did,
and I
Harley
know,
Hunt-
I mean, I know
is there
that's funny, but at the same time, Alexa didn't show up in the courtroom, right, as a witness, and she could
She sure
have
didn't.
had she not been disabled. So
Correct.
tell me again when Alexa was disabled and he allegedly lost his technology, because okay, so she blocked it from the Wi-Fi. So she
Sunday.
blocked Alexa from the Wi-Fi when? Because to me, once again, it's in my mind, it's going to go toward premeditation.
You know what, Jennifer? The more she talks, not the more she talks, because she's not even talking. The more that we see presented of her text messages, etc.,
Right.
the more I am leaning more and more and more to premeditation in the bless you in the
Thank you.
what we all think of as premeditation. Legal premeditation is very different, but this seems like a plot.
Right. Yeah. And Letitia knows Alexa is a snitch.
Yeah,
Right.
everybody knows Alexa is a snitch.
Thank you, Cray Cray.
So is the switch. She blocked the Wi-Fi from the switch as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, Teresa. I didn't see it.
Right.
My God, you know what? It's crazy because Alexa has showed up in other courtrooms. So
Oh
too
yes,
bad.
Alexa,
It's too bad we didn't
Cortana,
get here.
Siri, they all snitches. I will say this though. I did see a meme a long time ago, and it is true. There was some Google Earth search, and when you zoom in, there's an inmate escaping a prison, but they blocked out his face. So Google Earth will rat you out, but not put your shit on Front Street like that. They'll at least blur your face.
That's funny.
Tara
Just a
said she
little
was probably
Pushing that,
jealous
Harley.
of Alexa too.
She probably was.
I saw those
She's
text
probably like,
messages
you
at that
talk
time.
to Alexa more
Not
than
at
me,
that time.
Al.
The next entry you
Oh,
have is at
Siri.
9:54 a.m. to 9:59 a.m.
Yeah.
What is that?
So this is getting ready to go on their outing Monday afternoon. So at 9:54 to 9:59 a.m., these messages were sent to Mr. Stauch from the defendant. Starts out with saying, left phone at home, call G's on my watch. It may stay connected, and we will monitor it. And then at 9:59, Mr. Stauch replies with K. And then, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just what you were getting ready to jump into. So that text message about leaving home 9:54. What time did they actually depart? I say they. Tell us who the they is.
They, the defendant and Gannon, actually departed at 10:12.
And at
we
this
see
point,
that
I firmly believe that she thought he was going to pass away when they were gone.
Remember, I would like something that Jennifer said earlier has now all my synapses have fired and accepted it. And she was talking about the ADT and wanting to know what the ADT
Right.
showed if she went down there. I can't help but wonder. There are the hydrocodone never turned up, and I'm wondering if she stayed up and couldn't get Gannon to take, enough hydrocodone in one setting. Do you know what I mean? So she continued to go down there and feed him, slowly doing it. I wonder if that's because she was up at 2:30. She was up at 4:30. She was up at 6:30, you know?
I always
I think-
wondered if that was when she was cleaning.
Oh, well, I think she was doing something. And I mean,
Or fixing the
something
carpet or
again,
whatever.
because
Well-
she believed that he was not going to, I believe that she did not think he was going to survive this trip they're taking. I truly do. There's no other reason she would have went to Petco twice. And I really believe that. But I don't know. Someone says, Sheila says he could have already had a head injury walking to the truck, hence the struggling. I've always wondered that because we knew that he had a head injury for a while now. And, I don't know, just the way that he doesn't bend over to grab what he drops and stuff. But when the medical examiner testified, she said she's inclined to believe that the stab wounds came first because the head injury, or because he was fighting back with the stab wounds. And, the head injury would have rendered him basically, where he couldn't have done that. But what if she only hit him in the head? He was hit in the head 4 times. Is it possible that, he had a different like one of those head injuries, or I don't know. But then again, there's also blood. We know there was a lot of blood that night, and a head injury wouldn't necessarily account for that.
Well,
You know?
anytime you hit somebody in the face, head area, right? And look at her hands, they're cut up. The knuckles specifically are cut up. Your face and your head are very vascular. They bleed. And a lot. It's possible. I don't know. There's something about that tone in his voice on that video. We don't need to play it. We've all heard it enough, I think. But he sounds, there's a lot of sounds in that video from him. Do you know what I mean? He sounds confused.
I hate it.
And I think
so
that,
scary.
yeah. And I kind of am wondering if perhaps the state of confusion is not just at the question that she's asking him. Like you promise you didn't do it on purpose. Why would you ask a kid that?
Because you're gaslighting him?
Exactly. I never understood the point of her asking him that. Nothing good. There was no good reason.
He did it.
The only time I've asked my kids that is like if they say they accidentally, like one of them gets hit in the face with a ball or something. I'm like, did you do that on purpose? Then I'm like, tell him it was an accident so that they're not mad at each other, or, something like that.
Yeah, I feel like she was just manipulating him because she had hit record and she needed to get it on there that he had done it.
Yes, but then right as he says, and I've played that's the one part that I cannot let go. And I've replayed it in my head over and over and over and over. If you're trying to get an omission from somebody on tape, which who does that? It's only the only reason to do that is for evidence, for proof, right? And then but right as they're trying to agree with you, you shush them and say, okay. And it came right after he said, I'm worried about my burns. Exactly. I think that he was supposed to say, because she also talks about him writing a note that he was sorry. And I feel like the only reason to shush him was because he wasn't supposed to say my burns. And when he did, she knew she couldn't edit that video. I mean, she could, but you would know that it was edited. And so now her wheels are spinning. Now she's got to then come up with the story of he picked, he was burned more than than I thought he was. After saying she assessed them.
But
which is it? Burns are quick. Like you'll see how bad they are immediately. Not like a bruise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
My personal opinion is that she wanted to kill him in the fire, but she didn't want to burn the house down because she's too materialistic. She could lose Gannon and then become this public figure who had this horrible traumatic event happen. and then, her and her husband could trauma bond and she could start a foundation or whatever. As long as she
Right.
didn't have to have a day job, I'm sure it would have been fine. And everybody could feel
Right.
sorry for her because she could be this mom that this horrible thing happened to. But I feel like she wanted him to die in the fire. And he didn't. I feel like he woke up and he put the fire out. But that was after he had the busted nose and the busted lip. And if she had drugged him, I feel like she was gaslighting him into believing that he started the fire, because he could have been asleep when she started the fire, right? And if you push record and you get him to say, I didn't do it on purpose, after you've gaslighted him into believing that he did it in his sleep or whatever, then, the only reason to even make the video is to cover your own tracks, because you don't want people to blame you. Why don't you want people to blame you? Because you fucking did it.
Well, right.
I mean,
The candle wax is in a very specific spot. It is only over where there was blood. The majority of it. I mean, she just flung it a little bit. She dripped a little bit on the couch for good measure. Then says she's going to sell the couch, which never made sense to me either.
But listen to this. There's a really good point made in the chat from Sniper. Let me see the exact name. Sniper 79. There was no blood in Al's truck, but we know he was bleeding the night before, because that's the whole reason the candle incident happened. We know all of that. We know there was. So what in the world? I wonder how.
Well, if she hit him in the face and it was a nosebleed, those stop fairly quickly. It wouldn't have bled all night.
Yeah, and Tamara asked if Alexa was shut off before the candle incident. And I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think so. I think that Letitia was saying that he lost his electronics and everything on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Before the hike.
Because of the bath salt incidents.
Yes, and it was before the hike. That's why they went on the hike, because there was going to be no technology that day.
Right.
Also, it's very suspect that Leticia, and this is intentional, left her phone at home, and everybody had to get a hold of Gannon. Anybody that needed to get a hold of her needed to get a hold of her through Gannon's phone. Yeah. That's intentional. Mm-hmm. This woman, we can see her cell phone activity. I mean, she was on it 25/8.
Yes, she left her phone on purpose. Absolutely. And it's
exactly.
Just, 100% agree. Okay, so we're about to get into about the time.
That yes, and it's all to stage that he was still alive Monday. Because now she's trying to figure it out.
How to get him out the door and not be with her when he's oh my God.
Correct.
Okay, so we're about to get into like the time where they say that the crime actually occurred. So like we're right on the edge, because I see Petco right here in the video of him leaving. So we'll play through this.
All right, I'll be STFU for a while.
No, but if there is something that you want to add, please do, because I like hearing from you guys. I think that like I learned from you guys. I like, so please.
You like us?
Video that we previously made as Exhibit 41, the surveillance video from 6643 Mandan Drive.
That's correct.
The next entry you have is at 9 a.m. to 2:45 p.m. What is that? So after they leave, from 10:39 a.m. to 2:45 p.m., the defendant phone no activity. In fact, all incoming calls and text messages was in fact left, because the hour and sector servicing that activity. We know through financial and other investigative leads that the defendant drove the red Nissan truck up to the Petco on North Nevada. During this time, the phone was at the house. There was no outgoing activity. On that code and other points for the defendant's phone, was usual for her to leave her phone at home when she would go to trips to stores or what have you.
This instance, I know of that happening.
The next entry you have is at 11:22. What is that?
Defendants at Petco at 5020 North Avenue. Finance action under exhibit number 231, or $34.58. The defendant bought 3 outfits for the dog.
And then the next entry is at 11:28 a.m. What is that?
That's a message to the defendant saying, I have to get a few toiletries from the PX. I sent it at 11:20 a.m. and it didn't message until 5 p.m.
the last entry on page 1 of 3 of People's Exhibit 696.
Correct.
On to page 696. Again, we'll do this at the beginning of each one of these times.
His phone.
What happened to the sound?
I don't know.
Hold on.
We talked shit one too many times about
Exhibit
Alexa, and now
696.
she's fighting back.
Now
Come
we're
on,
screwed.
Alexa, don't be that away.
Was active at the house, but all incoming activity. There was no outgoing activity.
Based on looking at the download and other data points, Exhibit 696.
It's muted here for a second. That's not, it's not me. It's just a recording. Damn it. Well, okay. It'll start back in a second. This sucks.
You know,
I
I've
really needed
often
to
wondered if the real reason Leticia was looking out the window at the Petco was not because she was worried that Gannon
that
was
video that
going
we
to get
just
out
watched
of that
just
truck. I think she
Kim, what
was
is that
worried
intro?
that somebody was going to get Gannon out of that truck. Like see him locked, you know, in a car. You know how people feel about that. I have,
Maybe they
you know, it's cold.
Oh, thank you, Lillian.
It's not running. You know, he probably didn't look well. He certainly didn't look well in that 8 o'clock picture.
No, I agree. He did not. Lillian says we should start a podcast. We do great. We're respectful to each other's opinions and talk time. That's awesome. No, I think she was waiting for an opportunity to make a move. I thought she was waiting on him to pass away or something. But I don't know. Okay.
That's the video of the Volkswagen Tiguan backing into the garage.
Is that video that we just watched just a few moments ago, Exhibit 213? The next entry is at 2:26 p.m. What is that?
That's Mr. Stauch sending the defendant a text message saying, "You there?" with 2 question marks. And just like the other message on the first page, this message isn't read until 2:45 p.m. with an okay as a reply.
Is this the first activity on the defendant's phone that indicates outgoing activity, meaning that somebody is manipulating the defendant's phone and sending out messages?
Yes, this is the first outgoing activity in several hours, and then there's outgoing activity again for about another hour.
The next entry is at 3:10 p.m. What is that entry?
Mr. Stauch responded to that, okay, were you asleep at 3:10, and no response from the defendant.
The next entry is at 3:15 p.m. What is that?
Lena gets home from school, and you see her outside, just kind of loitering outside.
The next entry is at 3:31 p.m. What is that entry?
This is Mr. Stauch texting the defendant saying, "Hey, I've called a few times." A minute later, the defendant places an outgoing call to Mr. Stauch's phone that lasted 3 minutes and 35 seconds.
This period of time that's looked at from that 2:45 p.m. time when the defendant responded to Al Stauch's text at 2:26 p.m. through this outgoing call at 3:32 p.m. Is this another gap in time of no outgoing conduct on the defendant's phone?
It is.
Is that unusual based on looking at her historical use of her cell phone?
It is. Normally, it's very active.
3:35 p.m. is the next entry. What is that?
Mr. Stauch sending another text message to Gannon saying, "Hey, buddy." Gannon didn't respond, and it wasn't read on his phone until 7:40 p.m. that night.
When her text was read,
7:40 p.m. that night, she read that, and I was just about to ask you guys, but didn't want to pause it because I want to get through the time that that this occurred, and then I want to talk because my computer's going to die. I'm going to switch to my phone, and we can do the rest of the timeline another day too. But did he ever respond to the "Hey, buddy"? Besides, I know he asked. That was Leticia, though. I think asking to play or to do something with the game or the friend or whatever. But other than that, was there ever a response to that first message? There wasn't, right? From Al yesterday.
They don't talk about it. Nope.
Wow. He
No,
wants
and
to-
Al
And I
said
found-
specifically that that video that she took of the candle incident was the last time that he even heard his voice. So for sure, he didn't. Yeah, I mean, at the same time, but there's no other text messages after that that Gannon himself responded to. It was all Letitia after that. So that last "Hey buddy," during the day, that was, we don't even know if he responded to that. So we don't really know the last time Al talked to him. The last
then
time Al
she
talked to
was-
him could have been before he left on Saturday.
That's what I
Right.
think.
And she was on his, I do too. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this, so we could really like iron that out. And then she was on his phone at 7:40 p.m. that night. That's the first time she opened it, that message.
That's 40 minutes after she called 911.
Wow.
Because I distinctly remember her saying in that 911 call, I know it's only 7:00.
Ooh, Tara, I want
She
to
called
go look.
911 at 6:55, and she called the non-emergency number at 6:58.
Okay, let's see.
Is this that
But
7:40
wait a
p.m.?
minute.
Is
Didn't
that
they,
after the
did they,
defendant
did
had
they
called to
know
report
that
that
she,
Gannon was missing?
It is.
when they came out to her house, did they think that Gannon had his phone with him?
I don't think so. I think that she told them that he left it behind.
Okay.
And she told
okay.
them about the Swisher sweets.
Yes.
And what she didn't tell them about is the switch, that the switch was left behind because she had hidden that in the house. So she told them that he took his switch, even though it was hidden in the house. But she told them that he left his cell phone and his bag full of drugs.
Okay. Yeah, it's disgusting the way that she slanders him.
Who was home at 7:40 p.m.?
The defendant, Harley,
I know what I was going
Lena,
to ask,
and
Jennifer.
Gannon.
3:41
No,
p.m. to
I will
4:11.
not marry you.
Oh, damn it. All right. Never mind. Do we know if Lena ever got in that house? What time Lena actually entered her home after school that day? Because he made a point of saying, and she's just loitering. Do you think it's because she couldn't get in?
They have her going up to the. Don't they have her on camera going up to the door and maybe even in for a second, or a minute
Yeah,
or
if
two?
so, it was just a split second.
Yeah. Like, it's like Letitia stopped her at the door. 3:15, Melissa says.
Right, but what do you guys think about Harley coming home and changing her clothes and then taking Lena?
I don't know. That means she went in and she had to see something. I've thought about that too. Changing
What
clothes
would she see
downstairs.
though if she had the doors? If let's say she did let's say that happened, right? Put yourselves in at 17. All right, your mom is about to send you to the dollar store or wherever the fuck it was she sent her, right, on an errand. And you never know who you're going to come across in town, right? So what do? You change real quick, right? But do you stop and look, and if your brother's door is closed, do you stop and open the door?
No, but that's not
No.
what I mean. I mean, she would like, I
What
feel
would
like
she see? It all took
Letitia
place in the
cleaning
bedroom,
up,
did it not?
chaos, like,
Well,
or
but they
smell
also said that there was blood going up the
Yeah,
stairs. There
all the
was
way down the
blood.
hallway, up the
Right,
stairs, into the storage room. There was blood across the whole house.
right.
Yeah, but but the majority of the blood was in his room, right?
I don't
Right.
know.
And somebody just said in chat, I think it was Melissa Jade that said something about, Melissa Jade said blood was in Harley's room. Come on. That's another damn red herring that they never tied up for us. And it was confusing, but they said that there was blood on Harley's sheet, on her comforter, and on her mattress. And that stuff had been thrown in the clothes basket. And that they didn't take the mattress, but they did take her sheets. She's a 17-year-old girl. If she's got blood on her sheets, it could be a very simple explanation that's probably a little embarrassing.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree.
But they never
Okay.
said that. If you're going to tell us there's blood, just like that damn carpet square. If you're going to tell us there's blood and you've had 100 searches and all these DNA experts and everything else that you told us about, tie up those loose ends. I was very frustrated by the number of things that they didn't actually tie up at the end.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm going to play this because my computer's going to die and I'm going to come in on my phone and we can talk about all this, but we only got a second left of video. Okay.
Okay.
PM is the next that you have on the timeline. What is that?
The text message between the defendant opens, I'm buying the headphones from an AT&T store. Defendant replies with how much you let me look at the banks, with like on the plan. And the defendant says, I know, but I'm saying how much for the ones at the exchange, the one over ear. Mr. Stauch replies with, don't know, I can look tomorrow. Yeah, like I used to have, but wireless. The defendant says, yes, and attaches an earbud image to the message. Mr. Stauch replies with, but the JBL are cheaper. And the defendant replies with, do like 99.
Is that a fairly typical way that the defendant would quickly respond to text messages that are coming in or phone calls?
Yes.
Different from that time period we just talked about from 2:45 to, what was it, 3:30?
Yes.
3:32 p.m.
I noticed that the defendant's very responsive to friends and family.
The next entry on this timeline is at 4:15 p.m. What is that?
Harley clocks out. So now we're into Monday, starting to get into later afternoon.
So she clocks out from work.
Correct.
The next entry is at 4:19 p.m. What is that?
Harley sends a text message to the defendant saying just got off, and the defendant replies back with yay.
Was that another quick response?
Within 1 minute.
The next entry is at 4:37 p.m. What is that entry?
We see Harley arrive home in her white Volkswagen Jetta from surveillance taken from the neighbor's house at 6643 Mandan Drive.
The next entry is at 4:50 p.m. What is that?
The defendant attempts to FaceTime Harley, but it has a 0 duration.
The next entry is at 4:51 p.m. What is that entry?
Right about the time the FaceTime happens, both Harley and Lena leave the house together in the white Jetta.
The next entry is at 4:52 p.m. What is that?
The defendant sends a text message to Harley saying carpet powders, 2 things, baking soda, trash bags.
Why is that significant?
Cleaning products.
As it relates to cleaning products, what does the investigation show as to the likely time that Gannon was murdered?
Prior to Lena getting home from school.
On this January 27th?
That's correct.
Do you ever see, through any portion of the investigation from that point on, ever see Gannon alive on any videos, audio recordings, or anything like that?
You do not.
After the defendant sent that text message asking for the carpet powders, 2 things, baking soda, and trash bags at 4:52 p.m., the next is at 5:07 p.m. What is that?
That's attempting to FaceTime the defendant, but again, it doesn't connect. It's a 0 duration.
The next entry is at 5:08 p.m. What is that?
That's the defendant's phone having a 10-second FaceTime with Harley.
Is at 5:14 p.m. What is that?
This is Dollar Tree located at 6955 Ridge Parkway, which is in close proximity to abandoned residence.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's a receipt where Harley purchased the items requested along with some candy for Lena.
The next entry is at 5:19 p.m. What is that?
5:19, Harley's attempting to FaceTime the defendant, but it doesn't connect.
The next is at 5:20 p.m. What is that entry?
A minute later, Harley again attempts to FaceTime the defendant, but it connects for 10 seconds.
And then 5:30 p.m. is the next. What is that entry?
Harley and Lena return back to the Mandan residence in Jeddah.
The next entry
Why
is
would
at
they need to be
5:44.
FaceTiming so much?
Mr. Stauch sends a text message saying have kids FaceTime.
Did the defendant respond to that text message?
Not for about an hour.
The next entries, 7 p.m. Is this the first outgoing message indicating nothing's gone wrong with Gannon? So it's 6:27 p.m. to 3:07 p.m.
The kids and talk kid. The next is on defendant 2Al, 6:27 so later, saying Gannon said to his house and I told him 6 people. And Mr. Stauch says, send Lena. And then the defendant says, okay, hold, I'll stand out and watch her. Mr. says, if it's the ones on the end of our street, and ground him until Thursday. And the defendant says, Kay, it's pouring rain. You ask them, they may be why fleeing actually.
In any of these text messages that are outgoing from the defendant's phone on both January 26th and now on January 27th, any indication that the defendant doesn't know who she's texting with?
No, no indication of that.
Any indication that the defendant is in some other altered personality?
No, it's consistent.
Any indication in any of these text messages where she's wanting to be called Maria or any other name?
No.
I feel like Maria wouldn't get along well with Al.
next-
If there was a Maria. Obviously there's no Maria. Uh-oh, why am I echoing?
It's me. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Okay, my computer was dying, so I switched into my phone, and I could not get it to stop, but I shut it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, say it again about Maria. I couldn't even think.
I feel like, well, he keeps asking about if there's any indication that he's talking to, it's an altered personality or whatever, and he said no. But I kind of feel like Al and Maria wouldn't get along so good. Something about Maria Sanchez. I don't think she's a match for Al.
Oh my God, when she's pretending to be her, like, it is so obvious acting. I don't know how she fooled this lady who has so much experience. It has to be her age, or she is purposefully lying. That's the only two options to me.
Well, but think about all those wiretapped phone calls. Imagine if she had been doing that while pretending to be Maria. I mean, my ears would have bled less because it's a lower voice and it's not that like shrieking banshee thing.
Yes.
But I don't know. I feel like, well, I mean, Maria didn't talk about protecting Albert, so
no,
I don't
she sure
know.
didn't.
I get the idea Maria doesn't really like boys.
Not a fan.
Hey, peace.
She's not a fan of boys. No. I also think that, well, now I got distracted because Melissa's asking about whippets.
Well, and if Taylor has a husband and 3 kids, I'm pretty sure Maria has a wife.
Yeah. Train to
Yeah.
kill, okay? Train to kill. Yeah.
Trained to kill. It's what I do.
She reminds
Are you a Tret?
a picture is like that lady off Austin Powers that's like man was
Send
it
it to
Austin
Lisa!
Powers was, it's
That
the
one?
same actress, but also yes, and she plays on Big Daddy too, and he don't know if she's a man or a woman. She works at the aquarium. That the character from the Austin Powers, like, I don't know, that's who I think of when you say that. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. The acting, like I said, that's all I come back to. Trained to kill, okay? Trained to kill, just like Beej said. Like, it's obvious. So I don't know.
Oh, I think I know what one
just,
you're talking about. I don't think it was Big Daddy 2. It was Adam Sandler, the one that like goes head first into the tub of fish to get like the fish off the
50
bottom
First
to
Dates.
feed. Yeah, it was 50 First Dates.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
That lady.
You need fish slap.
Yes, I love that movie of all time. Hey, Heather. Hey, I said hey, you saying good night. Good night, Heather. My brain is like after it gets late. But yeah, so I'm glad we did this, and I would even be up to at least watching again by myself the rest of it. But just to get an idea of exactly, we saw no communication with Gannon and neither one of his parents. That's sad, and that pisses me off. I don't know. I wanted to know about that, and I wanted to just look at the timeline again to see when we think that this occurred, exactly what time. And we know that it occurred, he said, before 3:15. They have the exact times on that ADT, but I can't remember. It's been so long since that was kind of talked about.
Right. Well, and I changed my mind. So definitely send me the video with the timestamps, and I'll still go through that tonight and update the website, and I'll let you know as soon as I publish.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'll share it.
I don't know.
What was I gonna
just
say? I had something important to say, and it just went right the frick out my brain. Oh well, it'll be back.
do any
Yeah,
of you
probably right in the middle of the night when you're trying to sleep.
Yes, that's usually what
Oh,
happens.
I thought of, what about this? Didn't they say on those calls from the jail that she was what did they say? On some of them she was like overly talking about like mental health symptoms she was having, but then on some of those calls she was acting like totally normal. I would love
Yes,
to hear those.
we can request them.
Ooh,
Some courts give
I
them,
would.
some courts don't.
Oh my God,
I
that
would
would
be
be so
curious
awesome.
about them too because there's a lot of talk. There was some, not a lot of talk. Let me rephrase. Strike that, court reporter. There was testimony. There was testimony about that, and specifically that she would be having some sort of moment where she had no idea what was going on, right? But then, literally seconds later, she would be talking to Harley about bank accounts and moving money around.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and that's another thing about Dr. Lewis's testimony. I mean, how much did she go on and on about how you can't retroactively malinger, and, you know, that they would have these signatures and these changes and everything long before, but then not once did they show a single time that she had any of the stuff before. Now, if you look at her jail records and some of the letters that she was writing to YouTubers and phone calls that she was making to the friend who heard her talk in Russian, um, that all happened after the fact. But they didn't
Right.
even bring up any of that stuff. So that was one of my questions to Chris. Was I was curious if her defense attorneys had access to all of those ridiculous letters and phone calls that she sent out from the jail, and he said yes, they absolutely have every single letter that she ever wrote to any YouTuber.
Oh wow.
And they chose not to use any of those because it was all after the fact. And the crazier she got in those letters, which some of them are just absolutely ridiculous, but the crazier she got in the letters, the more it made it look like she was lying. So they just left it all out. And I guess I was surprised that the prosecution didn't use any of that to prove that she only, you know, went batshit after, you know,
Correct.
she switched over.
I'm surprised they didn't use it too.
Yeah.
I'd really see those as well.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the prevailing thought, and now I understand that each person with DID, their system works a little different, right? Their alters, because there's different names for it, but everybody is slightly different, but they do have some commonality. And isn't the intent and purpose of the fracture to protect the main person, right? How protective can it be if one of your alters is a Russian spy who, or I'm sorry, not a spy, strike that, Your Honor, a trained assassin who makes $1,500 a minute? Wouldn't that attract some attention to something being wrong
Yeah, good point. And not only
by
that, wouldn't
people?
you from this acting like a fool, and so wouldn't like a more responsible one take over and not tell so many unbelievable stories and shit? I think that's
Right, and I didn't understand the leap that she made by saying that Leticia was not her main alter, or, you know, not the waking self is what they call it. I mean, I didn't hear that in the courtroom, but, you know, the main personality, she said the main personality was Taylor, and that Taylor had a husband and 3 kids, and she was everything that Leticia wished she could be. And so I guess she was saying that Leticia wasn't even the main personality.
that
I didn't
makes
understand that.
Letitia's literally her government name. I mean, come on. As much as she
Right.
doesn't like it, that's her government name. So she has to be the main personality.
Yeah, but that shows her like yeah, she just has identity issues. She doesn't like her name and other things like that because of her personality disorders.
Correct. I
Right.
think
And we know that
she's
she's booked in the jail under Letitia Leanne Stauch, even though her name is Letitia Lynn Stauch, but she's got a social security card that says Letitia Harden Stauch. And on January 29th, when Jessica Bethel is interviewing her and she wants to know what her middle name is, she gives this explanation about how she uses her maiden name as her middle name. And then Jessica Bethel keeps digging, and then she finally says, "My middle name is Lynn."
right.
And then we find out that she's got these two socials, and one social says Tisha Lynn Harden, which was obviously before she was married. And then the second social says Letitia Harden Stauch. So, and then she's somehow booked under Leanne, which I'm sure she did on purpose. Just like when the police showed up at 10 o'clock at night on January 27th, she was referring to herself as Tesha. I mean, it's just fuckery.
Was she booked in the North Carolina jail under that one name you said? And then
That's a good
'cause I wonder
question.
if she was trying to fight extradition, because that's part of it. They have to make sure that you are you, that you
Right.
are the you they're looking for.
That's a
Like,
good question, and highly likely that she would know that.
yes,
Even though she played dumb when he was like, "Well, you're gonna learn," and when they were talking about
exactly.
extradition,
Oh
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure she already knew.
Especially because Al is the one that made it a point to say, "Well, you're the one that knows all the legal stuff. Why
Right.
come, Letitia? That's not what you went to Escuela for." Oh,
Right.
I don't know the Russian word for school. I only speak a little Spanish. So, yeah, that's not what you went to Escuela for, ma'am. So, how do you know about all this law stuff? Is it because I wonder what her life was like before she met Al? I wonder if she was up to no good and scamming in some kind of way.
I just wish she would have been trained to spell.
I wish she wouldn't use periods where no periods belong.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God.
Can I just tell y'all the saddest thing that's happened today? So,
No.
the little yes, too late. Minnie Bendy has gone to prom. Okay. But before she went to prom, she spent the night at her friend's house last night. They had a girls' night, right? And then she came home and got all ready for prom and whatnot, right? Well, she's not home again tonight because hello, she's at prom. Do you know that Mac won't sleep in the room without her? He's in the laundry room alone.
Aw.
Mac, I know. She'll be back, honey. It's so sad. His little face. He's all
Aw.
like, you know how they loaf? He's all loafed. Oh, Mac, she'll be
That is
back. He's big
sweet.
mad.
That is
Yeah,
so
he's
sweet.
big mad.
So how are you guys feeling now about the verdict? Are you still not worried at all? I've seen like a surprising amount of comments of people that think it's going to be a hung jury and stuff. And it's so soon to think that. I don't really I'm nervous, but not because they were in there any longer, just because we're waiting on the verdict. But
Maybe they're just fucking with Letitia, because the adage, the longer the jury is out, look what we're all doing. We're thinking, oh my God, is it going to be a hung jury? Maybe they're just fucking with her like she fucked with Al and Gannon and Landon and the police. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
they're
I mean,
just
when I
being
was there in
careful.
person, it didn't appear that there were too many, like, what I would call bleeding hearts, right?
Yeah.
I think that they want to make sure, like we talked about before, during jury selection, it was just so clear that everybody already thought she was guilty, and they all had to basically promise that they would be 100% fair in making this decision and review all of the evidence. And I think that that's what they're doing. I also think that they want to watch the entire 14-hour video. And I feel like if I was in that jury deliberation room, I also would want to watch the whole video, even if it hurt, because this is a one-shot thing, And I can't imagine that it would change anybody's opinion, but it would just give them more insight. 14 hours of Letitia's acting. I think that if I were exposed to 14 hours straight, of Letitia acting like she's crazy to this famous doctor who did not impress me on the witness stand. I feel like, she's getting a one-way ticket to prison.
I agree.
Um,
I don't think there's anything to worry about, you guys. I really don't.
yeah, I mean, I do have some concerns, especially now that I've gone back over the closing arguments a couple of times. I mean, there were just a few things where I went, oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. But I don't think they're that big of a deal. And it's just like, the video that we did before the trial started. And it was like, remember, this is pre-trial and everything that we think we know has to be thrown out the window.
Yep.
And I'm having a real hard time doing that because to me, she's 100% guilty. Lock her up, throw away the key. But I keep trying to put myself back in the jury and I keep trying to remember only what we learned at trial. And it's so hard. I think it'll be easier after I get through all the emotions of waiting for the verdict. I think I'm going to go back through each day of trial.
Yes, only watch. That's what you should do, Jennifer. So forget everything that you knew about this case.
Right.
Okay. You can't, but literally only so you can't forget about it, but you can, but make yourself only focus on what the jury heard. And I
Right.
think that I don't think I'm serious, you guys. I don't think there's anything to be worried about. Jennifer made an excellent point with essentially there was a big, dramatic exit by by Mr. Tellini and, it's already over, yada, 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 right? Blah, 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 whatever.
Will Cook. But yeah.
Well, Cook, sorry, my bad. Mr. Cook, right? He dips. Well, I think that this is important. There are appeals that are based on jury misconduct. Hello, Scott Peterson, right? Even though it was denied, he still raised one, and it was an excellent one. To be honest with you, that it's a fair one to ask for. And so I think the jury, they're wanting to make also sure they want to weigh the evidence, right? But they don't. What would be can you imagine if you've sat through 6 weeks of trial like they have? They've seen these horrendous and awful pictures of an 11-year-old child. All autopsy photos are horrible, but particularly when they're children, right? And only to have it undone because there's, they think that there's, some type of jury misconduct, so they're taking their time. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything to worry about for reals.
Well, and I'm having such a hard time this weekend, just because I need to hear the verdict, right? Just like all of us, right? But what if you are on the jury, and you were sent home this weekend, and your family knows that you're on the jury, but you're not allowed to talk about it. If your husband or wife was on the jury and they came home Friday night, I don't know. I think I'd be like, you know what? Go stay at a hotel.
Yeah. I probably would too, or I would. I'd be like, I'm leaving.
Yeah. Talk to me after the verdict.
Man, imagine when they go back to life, what that's going to be like. And
I'm glad that Colorado offers therapy.
Me too. I am too. I hope that they will do some interviews though, because they will be allowed right after that.
Yeah, they can. They can.
Yeah.
I'm still giggling back at who's Siri? Letitia being jealous of Siri and Alexa. Yep. He sounds hideous. Letitia.
Right, but she would accuse them of being jealous, and then she would say she could prove it.
Yes, of course.
I don't know how they can not look things up. I'd be Googling Dr. Lewis and watching the documentary. I wouldn't tell anybody though.
Yeah.
You wonder if some of them do, or do you think that they don't?
I mean, I would hope that they don't, but they are human. I do wonder, so I wonder if anybody hired like a jury consultant company, or, I know that they have the private investigator. The defense has Caitlin Kreck, and I can't remember the guy's name for the prosecution, but he's a big guy that sits in the back row on the prosecution side in the courtroom. He's their PI. And I know that they both work with other people, but is the jury being watched by private investigators? I mean, I'm sure that they are, right?
They have to be. They have to be.
Yeah.
This is a big case. And I'll say this. If any of those jury consults, I don't know why anybody would hire a jury consultant firm just to go to YouTube. We're
Right,
we're regular
right.
people. This is a big, unless you want to hire me, I'll consult the shit out of you. Don't worry. I'll tell you exactly what people are thinking.
Right.
Might not
If my-
always like what you hear, but it'll be the truth.
If my family member was on a jury, even if I did not have a YouTube channel, just my regular self before, because I was interested in true crime, I was always into it. If I heard that one of my family members was on a jury, I would be definitely watching the stuff about the case and looking it up. That would be really interesting. So I wonder if any of their family members are kind of keeping up with it.
I would be jealous because I would love to be on a jury, but I feel like now that I talk about true crime all the time, I would not get picked.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
Chris
I
has
think-
got me watching a show called Jury Duty, and basically the premise is that there's one guy on the jury who gets called for jury duty for the civil case, and everyone else is an actor. The judge is an actor, the attorneys, the plaintiff, everybody else in the jury, and everybody else is an actor but him, but he doesn't know that. So it's kind of like the Truman Show in that way, only it revolves around a courtroom and things just get absolutely ridiculous. At one point the guy decides that he's going to defend himself, and then all of a sudden his attorney becomes co-counsel, and they don't know what they're doing. And so it's like, I knew I needed comedy and I needed to get my head out of the trial.
Yes.
But I couldn't really take it all the way out, so I watched a comedy about the courtroom.
Isn't that
and,
on
that was
Peacock?
helpful.
I'm going to have to check that out because I've seen it.
I know it's on something called Freevee with commercials.
Okay.
I think it's on Prime, but I don't know. I watched
I'll
it
look
on
it up.
Freevee
I'll
with
find it.
commercials.
I'll find it. But yeah,
Quack.
bless it.
But yeah, it helped me get out of it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what helps me get out of it. I've been watching Vanderpump Rules, and I haven't watched Vanderpump Rules in like, I don't know, 3 or 4 seasons, but I started watching it again. There's still these people are in their mid-30s and shady AF, ain't grown up a bit. Terrible.
Ever. But,
It's messy and I love it. I need that, something that isn't heavy. I don't really have to think about it too much.
Right. Yeah, I was watching, what's the one on Prime with the comedian lady?
I need you to be a little bit more specific than that.
The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, yeah. I haven't checked that one out. I've also been keeping up with, and if you guys are not, you should. It's only on HBO Max, though. Love and Death. It is the Candy Montgomery. Oh, gosh. Betty Gore. Murdered on Friday the 13th, 1981, like the debut of Friday the 13th with an axe.
Right.
She was, yeah. And I have to say, it is, Hulu did it with Jennifer, Jessica, married to Biel, Jessica Biel, where she was Candy Montgomery. And they're the same, but they're also at the same time completely different.
I've never heard of that.
It's an old case. It's an old case.
Trial went for 9 months.
Who?
Holy, O.J. Simpson trial went on for 9 months.
Yes.
Wow. I know that. I was only like 5. I remember it because my grandma babysat me, and I remember like when he was found not guilty, she was mad as hell. I'll never forget that. But I was too little to like know really what it was. But wow, 9
I was
months.
pregnant during his. I had the baby right after but I was, I remember I watched the Bronco chase and I was pissed because it interrupted the playoffs, the NBA playoffs. I don't know why I was watching that, but I was. I don't know what was fast for whatever reason that year I watched basketball. I don't know. Anyway, and then I got pregnant in April of 95 and he was found not guilty right before I had the baby.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Of course, my baby was a little early, but still. But that's how I remember it.
Now, before we go, do you guys have any like last thoughts about the case? That
Fuck Letitia Stauch. Oh,
agree. I agree. Yeah.
Don't forget to send me that video and I'll update the website tonight. And check Messenger right away. I just sent you a video that's live right now.
Okay. I will, and I'll send it as soon as we hang up. And then, yeah, if that's it, then I know we'll be talking about it some more with the verdict and stuff. I'm glad that we did this because I wanted to just like closely look. I'd like to closely look at the timeline when she moved his body and stuff too, maybe sometime, because that's another part. That's pretty interesting to look at like that. But yeah, I'm so glad that you guys came up, and
me too.
I wonder what we're gonna do after the trial because I'm used to hanging out with y'all every night now.
Well, now we have, we have to look into more of Dr. Lewis. So stay tuned for that because Allie and I are
Yeah.
going to deep dive Dr. Lewis. But we're also going to go back and deep
Yeah.
dive Vallow because we haven't been able to give that case the attention that it needs and it deserves for JJ and Tylee and Charles and Tammy. And they deserve it too, and so
I totally agree. Kate, thank you.
we're
Thank
gonna
I think that's
get,
awesome. Thank you. It's so cool. Sorry, Jen.
no, you're fine. I was distracted by something I saw. Anyway, not in chat, on the TV.
So, Crime Curious is going to have the timeline detailed on her website in the next little bit. And we will talk some more over the timeline. Dr. Lewis, I know there's going to be some other things. And wait for this verdict. You guys, thank you all for being here so much. You must stay a trio. Oh, we will. We definitely will do lots of other things together.
We have to.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been waiting all night to say this. Don't go.
What? Oh, God, it's terrible.
Oh, thank you, Britt.
Thank you for
what
another
if when
fantastic
after
therapy
Letitia-
session.
Yes. What if after Letitia's found guilty and she decides to address the court and all she does is this?
Right.
Her last word is 7 days.
Right. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before you go to prison for the rest of your life? 7 days.
Beat the hell out. I'm telling y'all. She is literally what nightmares are made of. So
Send
She
shampoo.
is.
you do that so good. I'm curious. Yeah, like Melissa did. Melissa hurt her throat doing it. All right, you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you, chat. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Yeah.